I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my home.
Hello Horror Hounds, welcome to my horror house. Now this time round we're going to be talking about a real hidden gem of a movie from 1973, Messiah of Evil. I came across it here on YouTube, of all places, in the week, and I will link to it in the description field below, and I will not spoil any of it because I don't hear it spoken about hardly at all. So I'm going to stick my neck out and assume that an awful lot of you are like me and haven't had the chance to watch it. But boy, does it come with a strong recommend. It's a movie, I would say, that's more atmosphere over action. So strap yourself in when you're in a mood to watch something for about 90 minutes that has more of a sedate pace, shall we say. But certainly a couple of great set pieces that I will allude to as well. We start with a cold opening of a guy running away from something, and something happens to him. It's a very short scene. And then we move to our opening proper, I would say. And I kind of wish that the film had started with this. We see a strange shot of a corridor and a character, a figure is moving towards the camera out of focus and slowly resolving with this wonderful monologue. And this is our main character, and she is telling the story of how she is now in an asylum because no one will believe what happened to her. Her father, an artist, moved to this small coastal town called Point June and used to write regularly, and then when his letters stopped, she went to the small town searching for him, and what happened to her there led to her being in the asylum. Lovely little hook, wonderful little package. And from that point on starts the Lovecraftian foundations of this film, which is Messiah of Evil. It certainly owes a debt to the work of H.P. Lovecraft. In a similar way that I would say John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness doesn't adapt a specific Lovecraft work, but has Lovecraft shot all the way through it. So Messiah of Evil doesn't really draw from any specific work, but this is absolutely a Lovecraftian movie. So as with an awful lot of Lovecraft stories, this is a story being narrated to us. Let me tell you what happened to me. And then she goes to this small cut-off coastal town. She finds her father's diary there. So there's this sort of dual narration going on as well. There's this other layer of another sort of Lovecraftian main character telling us his story through his diary entries. Naturally, there's something deeply wrong in the town. There's a strange connection to the sea. There are nightly rituals called the Waiting, and talk of an event that happened a century before the coming of the Dark Stranger and the Blood Moon. So if you know your Lovecraft, you're getting serious sort of mythos vibes coming from this, I would imagine. What's absolutely stand out for me, even though this is an American production, it absolutely has the look and feel of an Italian genre movie from this time, from the 70s. And those of you who are regular to the channel and know my particular tastes know that there is no higher compliment I can pay to a movie than this. We spend an awful lot of time in the absent father's house, and through what I imagine is budgetary restrictions, you'll see a lot of sort of cheap and B-level movies using a main location and staying there quite a lot. So what they've done is they've absolutely made the most they can of this location. Right, it's owned by an artist, so we're going to have murals painted on all of the walls. Not only murals, we'll have trellises and things that we can use to shoot light through, create interesting shadows, or have people behind looking through. We'll shoot this from every different angle we can. We'll light it in a particularly Mario Bava-esque style. I mean, the production comes dripping off the screen, even for a low budget film like this. And after a time, the murals, even though they seem innocuous, because most of them are people and figures staring, looking back out at you, immobile, you get the feeling of the presence of the townsfolk all around constantly, even when it's just our main protagonists alone in this space together. It doesn't just draw inspiration from the work of Lovecraft, though. This is clearly taking a cue, as many other horror films after did, from George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, with the sort of, let's call them the wrong townsfolk, the townsfolk gone wrong, with them in this small, secluded coastal town. It also reminds me of a film made maybe about 10 years after this, Dead and Buried, which I reviewed quite a while back, and was yet another hidden gem, another film that I watched and don't really hear many people talking about, and thought, wow, this is absolutely amazing. maybe it's an unwritten rule that if you take your cue from Night of the Living Dead and H.P. Lovecraft, then you're going to become a sort of a cult favourite movie rather than a smash hit. Who knows? But we have an excellent bedfellows here in Messiah of Evil and Dead and Buried. So if you're a fan of the one, I can pretty much stick my neck out and think you'll be a fan of the other. So I would say it's absolutely strongly recommended. Unfairly forgotten, an absolute hidden gem of a movie that I think deserves to be seen. Couple of caveats. Well, one really, I was quite tired when I watched it, so its sort of slow, dreamy pace did have me nodding off a couple of times, and that's not the film, that was me in my headspace. I was in the wrong headspace to watch it, so I watched it in 3 shifts, 3 half-hour chunks, so I could go and sort of rest and get my head straight again. Still, I guess it still might be brain foggy from recovering from COVID. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a lazy bugger, but I was certainly drifting. It is a dreamy kind of movie. Some people might get a little bit frustrated with the pace of it. I think perhaps it could probably help with being tightened up a little in the middle, just an injection of some sort of pace and urgency. There are a couple of set pieces. I won't go into any detail of them. One is set in a supermarket and one of them is set in a cinema, which I think are some of the best examples of sort of slowly, quietly raising tension. Both of those scenes weirdly reminded me of the scene in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, outside the school, where the birds just slowly and quietly multiply. Both of these set pieces were absolutely superb. It does build to a sort of action-y type ending before the resolve, and for all that it's slow and stately pace, it does have a little montage of some of the more extreme moments in it towards the end that made me go, oh yeah, actually quite a lot of crazy shit happened in this movie. Perhaps it's not so slow after all. Perhaps it was just me. I think what they've done is that they've made benefits out of all of their drawbacks. The main location that they've had to shoot in, they've made it look gorgeous and interesting. And then out in the town, it's mostly filmed at night and deserted, and they've made absolutely the best of that location. It looks superb. And then, of course, the shoreline with the rolling surf coming in as well. Pure Lovecraft. Very, very, very impressive movie. Clearly working on a small budget, but with a lot of imagination in front of and behind the camera. They really pull it off. I would urge any serious horror fan to absolutely, definitely check it out. Messiah of Evil. Wonderful. Towards the end, that made me go, oh yeah, actually quite a lot of crazy shit happened in this movie.